It's now my honor to introduce Senator Chuck Grassley from Iowa. Senator Grassley was first elected to the United States Senate in 1980. As the longest-serving member currently in the Senate, he was sworn in as Senate President Pro Tem for the 116th Congress, which places him third in the presidential line of succession. And he currently chairs the all-important Senate Finance Committee. He's a lifetime advocate of retirement security and is the sponsor of the Retirement Enhancement and Security Act, RESA, that you've heard so much about today and that you'll be talking about tomorrow on Capitol Hill. Known for his reputation for hard work and constituent service, Senator Grassley holds the longest consecutive voting streak in Senate history. Senator Grassley hasn't missed a vote since 1993, when he was back in his home state of Iowa, helping constituents respond to some devastating flooding. Please join me in welcoming United States Senator Chuck Grassley. Thanks again, Senator.
Just in case you don't know it, he cheats us on the monitor down. And if I'd known that, I could have cheated too. Hey, I've got a prepared remarks here, but before I read, I know at least from the Iowa delegates that are here, you're going to meet me tomorrow. And you're going to get into detail on some things with me, and that's the way it ought to be. And I hope that each of the 49 states that are, other 49 states that are represented here do the same thing. And I like to remind people that usually come to my office from almost any group. They always say, we want to be a resource for you. My answer to that is, I want them to be a resource for me. So I'm going to tell the Iowa people, I'll probably repeat this tomorrow because I tell everybody this. If you want to be a resource for me, don't wait for me to call you, you call me. So the other aspect of your day on the Hill is simply, as you probably learned in 8th grade civics, and you probably forgot now about the Bill of Rights, you always study the First Amendment for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, but there's a fourth First Amendment that we don't discuss much, the right to petition your government for redress of grievances. Now, ask some lawyer exactly what that means, but this is the way I interpret it. You're going to the Hill. You've got a right to talk to your elected officials, and we have a responsibility to take that into consideration. Now, I'm sure half of you think that we have a responsibility to do exactly what you tell us to do. It doesn't go that far. But remember that that's what you're doing tomorrow. You're going to the Hill to communicate. Because one of the essence of representative government is that if those of us elected are half of that process, you folks are the other half. And if you're going to have representative government, you got to have dialogue between us. And that's what you're doing tomorrow. But you're doing it tomorrow I always do things in 15-minute blocks of time. So you come and talk to me for 15 minutes. And like my town meetings in Iowa, usually 1 hour in each county every year. I've never missed a 99 county tour of Iowa in 38 years. I've been in 51 counties so far this year. So whether it's a 15-minute in my office or the Q&A with constituents in my state, I always say it really doesn't do much good for me to come out here and talk to you if this is the only time you're going to communicate to me. So you ought to email me, you ought to postal mail me. If you call in and leave your name and address, we'll respond accordingly. And if you don't get an answer to your letter write me a nasty letter and ask me why I didn't answer it. Because if I promise to answer all those communications, then you ought to expect an answer. And that's the way you'd get most of your two-way communication with your constituents. Now let me bore you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to update you on some of the work of the Senate Finance Committee. And I was introduced as chairman of that committee. I'm glad to be back being chairman of the committee. The last time I chaired this committee was the years 2001 through 2007. I've been on the committee all except 4 years of the 39 years I've been in the United States Senate, but you can only chair a committee so long. That's the Republican rule. The Democrat rule, you could be chairman for a century and nobody would say anything. Now, I want to tell you that the committee has a full agenda for this Congress. We're focused on a number of critical issues, including retirement policy, prescription drug pricing, implementation of the new tax law, international trade negotiations, because we have jurisdiction over like what will be eventually, hopefully, the United States-Mexico Canada agreement. We have oversight of IRS and Treasury Department, and we have a lot of health care issues as we have jurisdictions over Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, etc. This afternoon, I'm only going to cover one of those key priorities, and that is retirement policy. Your visit couldn't come as a better time because we're doing a lot in this area. Just this morning, the committee held a hearing on challenges faced by workers and companies under our current retirement system, which can be improved. The testimony covered a number of issues, including access to retirement saving plans and areas where the system could use improvements. And that's a pretty bipartisan, bicameral agreement that those improvements are going to come. We learned a great deal from today's hearing. The hearing was a continuation of the committee's long-standing efforts to strengthen retirement security and the Retirement Enhancement and Savings Act, which typically goes by the nickname RESA, that I reintroduced earlier this year. The centerpiece of the bill, RESA, is a concept called Open Multiple Employer Plans, or for short, Open MEPs. The bill would expand the existing multiple employer plan to create open MEP plans, which will allow unrelated employers to join together to sponsor a group retirement plan for their workers. The open MEPs improvements will remove regulatory barriers that have blocked the use of these plans in too many cases. Example, under current law, only businesses that have a significant common interest are allowed to set up a multiple employer plan. RESA eliminates this common bound requirement to permit, within limits, more companies to band together and to work with a third-party plan administrator to offer retirement savings opportunities to their workers through these open MEPs. As part of these reforms, the third-party administrator would have to accept the fiduciary responsibilities for operating a group plan. This will then continue to protect workers participating in the plan, but it will also allow small businesses that join an open MEP to share part of their fiduciary responsibilities with the plan administrator, which then will help reduce the cost and then hopefully, and I think without a doubt, will encourage greater participation. RESA also eliminates the so-called one bad apple rule. Under this rule, If one employer within a multiple employer plan fails to meet any one of the rules covering these plans, then the entire MEP can be disqualified. This is true even if other employers are fully compliant. It's easy, then, to see why this sort of provision can discourage businesses from adopting these kinds of retirement plans, and while this rule then needs to be changed. These common sense changes will make it far more feasible for businesses of all sizes to offer retirement plans by harnessing economies of scale and reducing unnecessary administrative burdens on employers. More importantly, open MEPs would open the door for millions of Americans to save for retirement, especially in growing sectors like the gig economy. It will go a long ways towards strengthening retirement security if an online platform company can offer a retirement plan that all of the independent workers can join and put money away for their individual retirement. RISA also will help retirees better manage their income in retirement by allowing them to transfer certain types of savings, including annuity products, without violating distribution rules. This will make annuities and other similar lifetime income options much more popular. Retirement security is an important topic that is already getting a great deal of attention this year in Washington. The House Ways and Means Committee considered a retirement savings bill earlier this month that's based on RISA. I look forward to working with the House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Neal to reconcile our bills and get a final package to the President's desk. Now, looking beyond RISA, and this deals with a hearing we had today, it's clear that we need to improve our retirement system more than even RISA does. The system hasn't kept pace with changes in the economy, changes in workforce conditions, or with changes in the retirement environment. Recent studies have shown that a substantial percentage of workers don't have access to a retirement savings program. These studies show that the gap in access is frequently the result of a relatively small number of retirement programs offered by smaller businesses. For example, a recent study by the Pew Charitable Trust found that 40% of workers in smaller businesses don't have access to a retirement savings program. The Federal Reserve Board's most recent survey of consumer finances found a similar gap in access to savings plans. The reason for these findings are very simple. Small employers face challenges in helping their workers save for retirement. These barriers include complex rules and obviously followed on by high costs. Offering a retirement plan can be a time-consuming and obviously difficult process, not only in terms of establishing the plan, but also maintaining it on an annual basis. As a result, many smaller companies shy away from setting up plans altogether. The resulting lack of access to a plan makes it tough for workers in those smaller companies to save enough for retirement. At the hearing earlier today, witnesses shared with us more about the challenges within the retirement system and made it clear that we need to build on the strength of the current system to bring businesses and workers the benefit of saving for retirement. This is why I'm looking forward to the next round of pension reform, which this hearing today was the start of that process. There's several bipartisan proposals before us. As the economy grows and the economy evolves, our retirement system needs to keep pace with greater access for employees and independent workers, and efforts to make sure retirees enjoy a financially sound retirement. We have some good ideas for the next step, but we need your help. And that's why you're going to the Hill tomorrow. Number one, to advocate, I can't tell you what you ought to tell your congressmen and senators, but advocate for this RISA to get done very, very soon, and then talk to them about your ideas on what goes beyond RISA. Your companies manage these plans. You know the market, and you know what works and what doesn't. So please let me know your ideas. Let's work together, as you will, by going to the Hill tomorrow to practice what we call the redress of grievances, your right to talk to your congressman and senator, and his responsibility to take your points of view into consideration. So by working together, we then make sure that we have the best, most efficient, and effective retirement system possible. Thank you all very much for what you're going to do tomorrow.